Picture this scenario. You are sitting completely alone in your living room, safely tucked away on your comfortable couch. You are scrolling through a video platform on your phone, or perhaps watching a compilation on your television. The room is quiet. The temperature is perfectly controlled. You are in zero physical danger. Then, the video shifts to a new clip. It is a crowded sports stadium packed with tens of thousands of cheering fans. The camera pans to a young man holding a microphone. He looks nervous. He is sweating. Next to him is his girlfriend, looking confused and slightly terrified. The man drops to one knee. The stadium goes completely silent, waiting for the romantic climax. He pulls out a ring, his voice cracks, and he asks her to marry him in front of 50,000 people. She doesn't smile. She doesn't gasp in joy. Instead, she shakes her head, whispers something frantic and completely inaudible to him, turns around, and practically sprints up the stadium stairs, leaving him kneeling alone on the giant jumbotron for the entire world to see. Pay very close attention to what happens inside your body in that exact fraction of a second. You do not just watch the video impassively, your physical body reacts violently. Your stomach drops, mimicking the sensation of a steep roller coaster descent. Your shoulders tense up, pulling toward your ears. Your facial muscles contort into a grimace. Your heart rate instantly spikes, pumping blood faster through your veins. You might physically turn your head away from the screen, squint your eyes shut, or even hit the pause button because the sheer weight of the awkwardness is too heavy to bear. You might literally let out an audible groan in an empty room. This is the phenomenon we casually call cringe. We throw the word around constantly on the internet. We make compilation videos about it. We use it as an adjective for bad movies, awkward social interactions, and failed comedy sets. But if you actually stop and analyze what is happening, it makes absolutely no logical sense. You are completely safe. You are anonymous. You do not know the man on the screen. His social failure has absolutely zero material impact on your life, your finances, your relationships, or your survival. The humiliation belongs entirely to him, hundreds or even thousands of miles away, recorded years ago. So why is your physical body punishing you for someone else's mistake? Why is your biological hardware reacting as if you are the one kneeling on that stadium floor? To understand why this happens, we have to break a fundamental assumption you have about your own mind. You believe that your brain is an impenetrable fortress of individuality. You think that your experiences are yours, your feelings are yours, and your nervous system has a hard, distinct boundary that separates you from the rest of the world. You assume that when you look at a stranger making a fool of themselves, you are observing them the same way you would observe a rock falling off a cliff or a tree blowing in the wind, as a detached, external event. But your brain does not work that way. In fact, on a strictly neurological level, your brain is physically incapable of total detachment. When you watch someone else experience a profound social failure, your brain does not just observe it. It simulates it. Your mind is essentially a high-powered virtual reality engine. And when it sees another human being step on a social landmine, it immediately boot camps a simulation to figure out exactly how much that explosion would hurt. And the simulation is so incredibly vivid, so deeply wired into your hardware, that for a split second your nervous system actually forgets who is who. It forgets the boundary between you and the stranger. It blurs the line between the observer and the observed. You do not feel secondhand embarrassment because you are weak, or because you are overly sensitive, or because you are easily manipulated by a screen. You feel it because your biology is running an ancient, highly sophisticated program designed to keep you alive. You are experiencing a neurological glitch where empathy overrides your individual identity. To prove this, we have to travel to a laboratory in Italy in the early 1990s, where one of the most important neurological discoveries of the 20th century happened completely by accident. In 1992, a team of researchers led by neurophysiologist Giacomo Rizzolatti at the University of Parma was studying the brains of macaque monkeys. They were trying to understand how the brain controls motor functions, specifically, how the brain tells the hand to pick up an object. To do this, they implanted tiny electrodes directly into the premotor cortex of the monkey's brains. This allowed the scientists to monitor individual neurons. Whenever a monkey reached out to grab a peanut or a piece of food, the monitors in the lab would register the brain activity with a sharp, crackling sound, the sound of a neuron firing. Reach, grab, crackle, reach, grab, crackle. The experiment was straightforward and predictable. But one day, during a break in the research, a scientist walked into the laboratory holding an ice cream cone. The monkey was sitting quietly in its chair, wired up to the machines, completely motionless. The scientist absent-mindedly reached out and grabbed a piece of food in front of the monkey. The monkey did not move a single muscle. It just watched the scientist. But the machine in the corner of the room erupted. Crackle. The exact same neurons that fired when the monkey picked up the food itself were now firing when the monkey merely watched the human pick up the food. The researchers were stunned. They repeated the test over and over. The results were undeniable. They had discovered what we now call mirror neurons. These are specialized cells in the brain that do not distinguish between an action performed by you and an action performed by someone else. When you watch someone take a sip of water, the motor neurons in your own brain associated with picking up a glass and drinking light up. Your brain is silently mimicking the world around you at all times. It is how we learn to walk, how we learn to talk, and how we learn to use tools. We watch, we mirror, we become. But scientists soon realized that mirror neurons don't just apply to physical movements like grabbing peanuts. They apply to emotions. They apply to pain. Fast forward to 2011. A neuroscientist named Soren Krach and his team at the University of Marburg in Germany decided to take this concept and apply it directly to cringe. They wanted to see what secondhand embarrassment actually looks like inside a human brain. They placed volunteers inside functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, scanners, and showed them videos of people experiencing intense public humiliation. The subjects watched people tripping, confidently giving wrong answers, and being rejected. What the fMRI scanners revealed was shocking. When the volunteers watched the cringe-inducing videos, the visual cortex wasn't the only thing lighting up. Two specific regions of the brain absolutely exploded with activity: the anterior cingulate cortex and the left anterior insula. They are the exact same regions that make up the brain's pain matrix. They are the areas that process the emotional distress of experiencing literal physical pain. When you stub your toe, break your arm, or burn your hand on a hot stove, the anterior cingulate cortex screams at you to pull away. And when you watch a stranger get rejected on a jumbotron, that exact same alarm bell rings. Your brain literally processes social failure as physical trauma. It hurts you to watch them. But why? Why would evolution design a brain that tortures itself over someone else's mistake? Evolution is highly efficient. It doesn't waste energy on useless parlor tricks. There has to be a survival advantage to this shared suffering. To understand the why, we have to leave the modern world entirely and look at the environment where your brain was actually built, the harsh, unforgiving landscape of the Pleistocene epoch, roughly 50,000 years ago. Imagine you are an early human living in a hunter-gatherer tribe of about 150 people on the African savanna. In this world, you are incredibly weak. You do not have the speed of a cheetah, the strength of a gorilla, the armor of an armadillo, or the teeth of a lion. If you are left alone on the savanna, you are going to die very quickly. Your only evolutionary advantage, your only weapon, your only shield, and your only insurance policy is the tribe. Because survival required absolute group cohesion, early humans had to establish complex, unspoken social rules. You had to share meat. You had to respect the hierarchy. You had to contribute to the campfire. You could not steal. You could not hoard. And you could not act in a way that jeopardized the harmony of the group. If you broke those social rules, you became a liability. And what did ancient tribes do to liabilities? They didn't just give them a stern talking to, they exiled them. They pushed them out of the circle of firelight and into the darkness. In the ancient world, social death and physical death were the exact same thing. Rejection meant extinction. Therefore, evolution had to engineer a warning system to make sure you never broke the social rules. It created an intense, burning psychological pain associated with social failure: embarrassment. It made the prospect of looking foolish feel like a matter of life and death, because historically, it was. But evolution went one step further. It wasn't enough for you to learn from your own mistakes. Trial and error is too dangerous when the penalty is exile. You had to be able to learn from the mistakes of others without having to suffer the consequences yourself. That is what cringe is. It is an evolutionary defense mechanism. When you watch someone else violate a social norm, when you watch them bomb a joke or cross a boundary or humiliate themselves, your mirror neurons fire, and your pain matrix lights up, searing that failure into your own memory. Your brain is saying, look at them. Look at how much this hurts. Feel their pain so you never ever make the same mistake. You wince, you look away, and you physically contract because your body is practicing how to survive. It is a dress rehearsal for social survival, executed in the safe theater of your own mind. We live in a culture that is obsessed with avoiding cringe. We have turned cringy into one of the worst insults you can hurl at a person online. We construct elaborate, highly curated digital personas on social media to ensure that we appear flawless, untouchable, and perpetually cool. We filter our photos, script our videos, and edit out our stutters. We view the feeling of secondhand embarrassment as a weakness. We think of it as an uncomfortable glitch that we want to numb or laugh away. We point at the person failing on the screen, and we mock them, desperately trying to create distance between their failure and our own identity. But the irony is that the exact mechanism that makes you cringe is the most beautiful, vital piece of hardware inside your skull. Think about the alternative. What do we call a human being whose mirror neurons do not fire when they see someone else in distress? What do we call someone whose pain matrix stays completely dark when they witness another person's humiliation? We call them a psychopath. A lack of cringe is not a superpower. It is a profound, terrifying neurological deficit. The inability to feel the weight of another person's social reality is the definition of a broken human being. When you watch a video of a stranger failing and you feel that hot flush of embarrassment in your chest, you are not experiencing a moment of weakness. You are experiencing the ultimate proof of your own humanity. You are experiencing empathy at its most raw, unpolished, and involuntary level. Your brain is bypassing your logic, reaching across time and space, and actively linking your nervous system to a stranger's nervous system. It is your biology screaming that no matter how isolated you feel, no matter how individualistic our modern society becomes, you are inextricably wired into the collective human experience. You cannot separate yourself from the herd because the herd lives inside your own head. The next time you see someone bomb on stage, or stutter through a presentation, or get rejected in public, notice your instinct to look away. Notice your urge to pull out your phone and distract yourself from the discomfort, and then choose not to. Stay with it. Feel the stomach drop. Feel the tension in your shoulders. Let the simulation run its course. Because in that uncomfortable, squirming, excruciating moment, you are doing exactly what kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. You are feeling the invisible thread that connects you to every other vulnerable, flawed, stumbling human being on the planet.